Good evening. Today is Tuesday, May the 23rd, 2023. This is our first public hearing on the adoption of the 2024 fiscal year budget. Copies of the budget presentation, and fee schedules are available on the website. Also, the Oconee will hold a second public hearing on June the 6th at 6 p.m. And then following that, we'll have our regular business meeting where a vote will be taken on the adoption of the budget. With that, we'll turn it over to Melissa for our presentation.
Thank you very much. And good evening to everyone. Wait for the presentation to come up. So I'm here to present the FY24 proposed budget. That budget will run from July 1st of 2023 and carry us through June 30th of 2024. Thank you. That's okay. All right. So we have designed the budget proposal to fit the county's mission statement, providing high quality services in a fiscally responsible manner in a way that promotes the health, safety, and welfare of Oconee County citizens. In doing so, by achieving our strategic goals for smart government, growth, infrastructure, and quality of life. So we will start into the general fund of the FY24 budget. The proposed general fund is $38,834,959. This is a balanced budget for the general fund, meaning that all of the expenditures that are budgeted for will be covered by the revenues that are also collected in that year. We have a comparison of the FY23 original adopted budget around the same time last year to our current proposed budget, showing an increase request of $940,074, which is 2.48%. So we have this general fund budget shown for you in the next few slides by department and classification to look at the changes. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you're looking at general fund proposed revenues as a percentage of the general fund budget. Of property taxes budgeted at 47.4% of revenues. Local option sales tax at 27.4%. Other taxes at 11.7%. The remaining items include charges for services, licenses, permits, grants, and fines. You can see all those items listed down the right side of the screen. And the 24 proposed is being compared to the 23 amended budget. So that's as it's been amended to date. To give you a look at each of the department's changes. So our largest revenue source is the property taxes, the first line item that you see. And you'll see that there is a decrease in the property taxes from prior year. That is related to the board's commitment to a 1 mil rate reduction. That was conditional upon the passing of the T-SPLOST. That T-SPLOST referendum was approved by voters, and so you'll see that decrease reflected here in our budget. It's an overall budget reduction of approximately $1.9 million. You'll also see an increase in local option sales tax that's contributable to growth and new development within the county. And all of the other line items, revenues, the growth change is pretty minimal. Of note, when you come to investment income, you'll see a decrease. That's based on market interest rates, which can increase or decrease. So we budgeted there conservatively. And then the total budget of the $38.8 million. We'll go on and look at general fund expenditures. Presented here by department as well. Same thing on the left-hand side. You can see that law enforcement, jail, and E911 comprise 28.5% of the general fund budget. Administration and operations, 17.5%. Public Works 11.9%, and so on. And you can see the dollar amounts comparatively again on the right-hand side there. Looking at increases or decreases over prior year. Some key notes: law enforcement, jail, and E911. You see an increase of 735,000 there, mostly related to personnel increases. We'll look at those classifications in just a moment. So you'll see that across the board. Administration and operations decrease due to completion of projects in FY23. Public Works, also completion of projects in FY23, but a notable decrease that's related to moving paving activities out of the general fund and into the T-SPLOST fund, which is a component of the total budget and not the general fund budget. So moving forward, we'll look at the expenditures by classification. So here you'll see personnel and employee benefits make up 54% of the general fund budget. It's increasing 1.7 million from current year FY23 amended budget to the FY24 proposed number. So there's several things that make up this change that I wanted to share with you. Across the board, we have a base increase in pay charts of $2,500. And we are also budgeting for step increases for employees that meet the requirements for the step increase. We've included 4 new deputy sheriff's positions that showed that increase in law enforcement, jail, and E911, as well as 2 part-time tax commissioner registrars. And there's also some reclassifications around in departments throughout the county. Operation and maintenance makes up 27% of the general fund budget. And here you see that decrease that's related to public works and some of the paving activities that are moving over to the T-SPLOST fund. Capital outlays make up 2%, other agency payments of 3%, debt service of 6%, and then support to other funds make up 2% of the FY24 proposed budget. Also included is capital components. This is the 2% portion, requesting an IT call manager upgrade, continuing the fleet life cycle management program of vehicles, jail HVAC control system, infrastructure and public works, and equipment for parks facilities. Right, so the total proposed budget includes not only the general fund, but also SPLOST, capital, special revenue, and enterprise funds. And we're proposing $75,018,615. See a comparison with prior year FY23 original budget, increasing $9.1 million, 13.87%. So we'll take a look again at this in the same way that we did general fund. Proposed revenues, property taxes are 25% of total budget. Water and sewer, which is one of our enterprise funds, is 19.2% of total revenues. Local option sales tax, T-SPLOST and SPLOST individually are 14.4%, 14.3%, and 9.5%. But collectively, all of those sales taxes total 38.2% of our total budget. Of note here as well, you've got the chart on the right that shows the revenues by source. The total of those revenues is $73,638,964. And it presented to you that the total budget was $75,018,615. So we're requesting a usage of fund balance of $1.3 million in FY24. And this comes from receiving grant funds that haven't been spent yet, receiving SPLOST funds that we're still spending, and continuing water resources project into the current year using prior year's funding that was allocated. Total budget expenditures. You can see that water resources makes up 20.5% of total budget spending. Public works is at 20.3% of total budget spending. Jail enforcement and E911 at 16.1%. And so on, again, with the expenditure amounts listed on the right-hand side. Totaling total budget number of $75,018,615. Okay. We have a capital fund that is Not the same as the capital that's purchased out of the general fund. Those are kind of one-time annual purchases. The capital fund is for multi-year projects. And we've requested county facilities on continuation if needed of the administrative building to wrap up that project, as well as life cycle management programs for equipment for law enforcement and public safety. For SPOS 2015, and we believe that this line item will be the final line item remaining in FY 24. It's also budgeted in the current fiscal year, and we are working to spend the remaining dollars budgeted. But we would like to continue to budget that in FY 24 to complete the Historic and Scenic Facilities project. SPOS 2021 is our current SPOS referendum that started in November of 2021. And we're requesting funding for debt services for the park and administrative building, payment of paving of $2 million, general county facility funding of $345,000. Law enforcement vehicles, we do not have anything budgeted for. As you recall, we amended the FY 23 budget to go ahead and make those purchases since the vehicles were available. So there won't be any additional vehicles needed in the next fiscal year. Fire rescue vehicles and equipment includes a pumper truck that has been on order and approved, but is anticipated arriving in fiscal year 24, as well as some fire equipment. We have allocated $100,000 to water and sewer facilities, and then we have our municipality distributions from the SPOS. The newest member of the SPOS family, we have T-SPOS 2023. With paving and related services and distributions to our municipalities. This tax is new. It is effective April 1st of 2023. So the end of May, we should have our first distribution of those taxes. We don't have anything budgeted and anticipate that we would start spending, if approved, July the 1st. And water resources, it's the larger enterprise fund. So we've got details on that for you as well. Original to proposed budget is actually a decrease of $978,880, right at 6%. So here we have revenue placed on the left and expenses placed on the right. Proposed revenues of $14,266,000 total. Wastewater appears to be a decrease. That is only because we are requesting SPOS transfers to water resources at only $100,000 in FY 24. And you can see the water increases there. We do have planned sewer sales increases and water sale increases due to rate changes and growth. On the expense side, you can see personnel changes are related to the same reasons for changes in the general fund. Operations and maintenance are fairly constant year over year. Capital outlays decreased drastically. So that is because in FY 23, we have a large project, Calls Creek, at $25 million budgeted as a multi-year capital project. So that project will not be complete as of June 30th, but that budget will be able to roll into the new fiscal year so that it can continue on July 1st. They also have depreciation, amortization, debt services, and payments to other agencies budgeted. So here again, you can see the total proposed budget, $15,371,701, is greater than the revenues collected. And that is because of their capital projects using some of their reserve funds. That they will not need to, that they will use those reserves as opposed to the revenue they're bringing in. Just a few slides to show how our strategic goals are being met by the budget. Again, those goals are smart growth, government and infrastructure, and quality of life. And we are working towards those goals through public safety, transportation, maintenance and improvements, water and sewer infrastructure plans, and the fleet phase replacement program. So public safety is 41% of the general fund budget. When you look at law enforcement, jail, courts, fire, EMS, EMA, E911, and animal services. So you can see the chart on the right indicates the budget levels for all of those various departments. for capital and operating. Just to share some of the items that are included in those budgets for you. Out of operating, we have administrative building, jail, and E911 building maintenance with HVAC systems. Flock cameras, 10 flock cameras for investigations. Equipment budgeted every year for the departments, armor, rifles, pistols, car cameras, and lasers. Additional cameras at the jail to add additional security. Secure key card access to be installed at the courthouse. E911 radios that were requested, along with the communication system and body camera system for the sheriff's office in the life cycle management program. Animal services building maintenance, including kennel floors and walls being epoxied with acoustical panels in the kennels. And also breathing air machine match from the general fund for awarded grant. Looking at transportation maintenance and improvements, 20.3% of the total budget is public works. There's a total budget of $9.1 million for paving. It includes the general fund, SPLOST and T-SPLOST paving, and then the balance is operations. That's an increase of 4.1 over the prior fiscal year's budget. There's an extensive list of capital projects occurring in the water resources, which is 20.5% of the total budget. These are projects that are in the initialization phases or are continuing from prior year. As we have projects that are ready to come to fruition, those projects will be presented to the board. And then upon approval, a funding source would be identified and the budget would be amended at that time for those projects. Also, we have a line item for capital for the water resources at the bottom for a mini excavator as well. In the fleet phase replacement program, again, you see a $0 value for law enforcement because their vehicles were pre-funded. But we do have the fire pumper truck at $600,000 that is funded through SPLOST, as well as the fleet of vehicles at $205,000 covered from the general fund. No more information. So this first public hearing, the chairman mentioned that there will be a second public hearing held on June 6th. As well as a budget adoption. At that budget adoption, we'll be requesting, barring any changes, FY24 budget approval for the general fund and total budget and the fee schedule for the county. And this presentation is posted to the website along with the fee schedule and a budget summary. And I'm happy to distribute that to anyone else who is unable to get it from the website. It's posted on the bulletin board downstairs as well. Just feel free to reach out to me and let me know if that's needed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Melissa? We'll take any public comment on the budget. Anyone virtually? No virtual. Okay. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and we'll go ahead and move into our regular meeting. Let's see. Again, today is Tuesday, May 23rd. If you join us virtually to comment during the public comment portions of the meeting, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. After a moment of silence, we're going to ask Mike Pruitt to lead us in the pledge. Please stand. Thank you.
The flag of the United States and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first item of business will be to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second. Here, a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any statements, or remarks from citizens for anything not on the agenda tonight? Anyone virtually? Any statements, or remarks from commissioners? Got a few announcements while we got everybody here. Oconee County Veterans Memorial will hold a Memorial Day program on the May 29th at OVP at the Veterans Memorial. And this program will begin at 11 a.m. Also, our town hall for this quarter will be on June the 15th at 6 p.m. It'll be at the Oconee County Civic Center. You can join that virtually or in person. And the focus will be on the FY24 budget. So we'll have a little more detail, discussion on that. Also, the Georgia Department of Transportation will host a town hall meeting on Thursday, May the 25th. This will run from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Bogart Community Center. They'll be going over projects through Gwinnett, Barrow, and Oconee County, and they'll have boards up and have representatives there to ask questions and take comments on the projects as they stand now. All right, next item is the business involving guests and groups, and we're happy to have Chief Judge Eric Norris. Come on up. And the judges. Welcome.
Good evening. I appreciate Chairman, you having us tonight, and commissioners, and of course, our county administrator, and so Mr. Haygood looks a lot better tonight. It's good to see you.
Good to see
So there are two budget items that we want to bring to you that were not initially approved on. One is the health insurance request for the chief magistrate judge, and then the second is a request to increase the supplements that Oconee is providing to the 4 Superior Court judges. Which would y'all like me to address first?
Your choice.
All right. Let me go with the magistrate first. Judge Conley came on the bench in 2016 when I was elevated to the Superior Court bench. He was unanimously selected by the Superior Court judges and approved by the commission. And he's done an excellent job over the last 7 years. As you know, he's been practicing law for almost 26 years, I believe, and recently he relocated his office to downtown Watkinsville, which has been a great benefit for him and for the courthouse, because instead of driving 2 or 3 miles, he can walk across the street, much as I was able to do back in my day of being the magistrate judge. So we're very happy with him, and of course, Judge Barth. Some interesting things about Judge Conley. One, as you know, he's a very experienced attorney, and he brings a lot to the bench and to our community. 2, he is the only, I believe, the only part-time chief magistrate judge in the entire state. So I'll tell you, by, 100, as when I was magistrate judge, they said there were 159 ways of doing something, and there are 159 ways that they do magistrate judges. But I believe for us to be the only county that has a part-time magistrate judge, chief magistrate judge, is somewhat of a rarity. Most times you're going to see that as a full-time position, and maybe even a full-time associate. Now that was somewhat by request and design. So back in 2004, when I applied for the magistrate judge position, I actually asked for it to be considered part-time because I believed it could be done on a part-time basis. And Judge Stevens and it was Judge Jones and Judge Sweat approved. And then I don't know, were you sitting at the time as a commissioner at that time?
What year?
2004.
No.
All right. So anyway, the commission at that time approved me, and I was happy to take over. And I did that, on a part-time basis. There was a salary or an amount that we had, but there were no benefits. Everything was, not even a W-2. Everything kind of went through my business at self-employment tax. Since Judge Conley came on, obviously he has had, I think, a W-2, or at least the employment tax is taken out and the FICA cover. But when I came on, the current magistrate judge at that time, the salary was $52,000 plus health insurance, benefits, retirement, etc. During that time when I served, there were no benefits, and I didn't ask for any. Back in 2014, the magistrate council did at least start a retirement fund, but they only let the chief magistrate, they only let part-time chief magistrates, because there were 2 of us, get into the retirement program in 2014. At least Judge Conley's had that opportunity since he's taken the bench to apply for, at least fund a retirement fund for himself as a service as a chief magistrate. I would say that the request for this is based on several parts. Part-time is really just a designation. And when we say part-time, we're not really counting like, is it 15 hours here or 20 hours there? Because he does serve on weekends, nights, holidays. and as needed. So I know there are times when he's been called in the middle of the night to do things. I can remember times getting 2 or 3 calls in a night. And so, there's a little bit higher expectation, I think, for him in that role. And of course, he's done it well by also keeping his practice, but meeting all the needs of the county as requested of him. I would estimate that the cost savings for when this position went from full-time to part-time was probably about $215,000 to $240,000 over the last, well, that was just counting 11 years when I served. There's probably more than that since he came on. And that was not even including any benefits that a full-time judge would have received. The other part, he is the only chief judicial officer in the circuit that doesn't have any benefits. Our juvenile court judges do, they work circuit wide. For Superior Court, you have your state courts, you have magistrate court, probate court. But he is the only judicial officer that's heading a court that does not have any benefits. And I think it would be appropriate. Obviously, there will be a day and time where the position will have to go back. Whether that's sooner or later, I think we're lucky in the position that we have an individual who is able to serve, meet the county needs and the demands that the courts bring, and of course, those who are involved with the court system. And him still being able to manage a practice, being a sole practitioner, independent employer of several different people. And as many of you know, obviously, health insurance is a big issue. And I think that the service that he gives and will continue to give over the years, I think he's going to be happy to serve in a role for the county for as long as we all would want him. And I can tell you there is no intentional change on our part anytime soon. And I would say Judge Barth has done the same excellent job. So we would respectfully ask you to consider those benefits for him going forward. I think we're probably the one outlier in the entire state, and I'd really like to make sure we can keep him for a long time. Any questions? Okay, all right. My second request is a increase to the judge's supplements. We've asked, I believe the amount is $28.35 per judge. And I did some calculations and I've got a little history, and Judge Stevens may help me. Supplements have been a part of judges' supplements for probably 30 plus years, if I'm correct. I know at least Judge Stevens said that when he was a representative, 1988, 87, the judges asked him to go to the legislature and give them a significant raise, substantial raise of $2,800. $2,500, I'm sorry, back in 1988. And the legislature did approve it, but really there's only been a couple times, and we understand, these are state positions, but we work in the counties and we understand there's that friction at times about what salaries are, what the state's providing, what the counties are providing. And it's just what we have. We hope there would be a better plan. I do understand the Supreme Court is doing a wage analysis for the courts throughout the state, looking at how federal judges are paid, trying to find some unanimity. Of course, we'd love for the ACCOG to just start a bill for us and have the state pay that where we think it should be. But I can tell you, as one of the individuals on our survey we had, and as part of that wage study, they said, we're doing some of the most complex cases out there and handling people's lives for millions and millions of dollars. I've got a case today, I won't go too much into it, but they're going to be asking for a lot of money. And we're the lowest paid person. And I don't say that we're here for the money, but we also try to figure out how we can keep with the economy as the economy changes. We've made this request not just to Oconee County, but to Clark County also. We went to the Clark County budget meeting, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. The amount that we requested from them is approximately $83,837, and y'all's is $2,835. I understand that should be approved within the next week or so. We had no opposition to that. We did this so we would ask both counties at the same time and try to break it as close as we can to a percentage that would make sense. And also calculated that I looked at COLAs over the last 8 years. So the last time that we had requested and received a increase to our supplement was back in 2015, I guess. And since that time, if you look at the COLAs over the course of the last 8 years, it averages out to about 2.8% over 8 years. Remarkably, this year, the COLAs that you're seeing for like Social Security is 5.9 for last year, 8.7, I think, for this year. And we understand that inflation has occurred and it's affecting a lot of people. With that in mind, the amount that we're asking for, if you broke it down by 8 years, would be $354 a year since 2011, which is a 2.5% increase each year. And I'm just doing some rough calculations. I've just got finished with doing my trial, at least day 2 of the trial, so my head's a little bit foggy. But we always appreciate the good relationship we have. We know that there's a lot that the county has to be looking forward. And of course, presentation of the budget, the things, the needs of county, but infrastructure and public safety, we're sort of included in that too. And we would just appreciate y'all's consideration for the supplement. We try not to come to y'all very often. If we do, we usually think that's probably something that we would need to see happen or would ask for y'all to consider. But subject to that, any questions that you have?
I do have.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure I heard, before you were appointed the magistrate, it was a full time.
Yes, it was a full-time position, and the salary at that time was based on whatever the population was back in 2004, but it was around 52,000 plus whatever the county benefits package was worth at that time.
You remember who the judge?
Ben Parker.
So you're to blame for not having full county.
Well, I'll put it this way. There was probably there might have been a change anyway, but I'll tell y'all, I came into this when I came as the magistrate. Literally, I came back from military duty for 2 weeks and someone said, "Are you putting your name in for judge?" I'm like, "No." They said, "Well, it's coming up." I'm like, "No, I can't quit my job." And literally I thought, well, I think it's a part-time. I talked with our then not clerk, but I tried to figure, well, maybe you were the clerk then. Tried to figure out what that would look like. And so really I made the request to the Superior Court judge saying, I believe I can do it on a part-time basis. And my office was, of course, 15 steps away from the courthouse. So it didn't, time and distance and travel wasn't going to be a big issue. But, I'd considered over time when I was magistrate, whether I should ask for some things or not. You're always trying to be the best servant you can, but also plan for the future. And so, when I became, and I'll say this, I don't think anybody really knew what to do with a part-time magistrate at the time. We didn't have a public defender. We didn't even have a prosecutor for the magistrate court. So we made some real positive changes to get things where they needed to get. But for, Judge Conley coming on, I've known him since 1994. I consider him a dear friend and a great colleague. I think he does a great job for us.
I don't get out that I was giving you a hard time.
No, it's fine. I am responsible. I'm trying to change it, not too
Yeah,
much.
I
though.
said, Lord have mercy. If he hadn't done that, we wouldn't even talk.
I know. Saved y'all money.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And what is the amount of money we're talking about on the supplements?
$2,835 per judge. With, I think they said, I don't know what the added benefits are at 20%. I don't think we don't get health insurance or anything from the county, so I'm not sure what that part is, but.
There are some other historical stuff and as we're looking statewide. Try to make some notes, but I'll work on that because I want to get a better feel. I appreciate you
Sure.
telling that. It gives me something to.
Well, I can tell you as part of this, we were able to look at supplements given through all 50 circuits in the state. Before this request, we were below 50%. So there are significant, so there was at least 25, 26, 27 other circuits that were paying well above what we've been receiving. And some of those are, I mean, you have Fulton County, Cobb County, DeKalb County, but you also have Augusta. And the Richmond, what's the circuit name? Oh, it's Columbia County. They're way above. And, the kind of work that we do, and I'm not, our circuit has some differences. I can tell you that the type of cases that we're seeing are much more metro related. And I can tell you that based on conversations, we've been dealing with things with gang task force, drug task force, things of that nature. The GBI will tell you that things are active and it's bleeding over. And so we're dealing with a lot of those things that have been metro issues. And then, of course, the complexity of cases, they still are out there. It's just, trying to work through those.
So I'll say 100% agree that the system for pay is broken in Georgia for the Superior Court system. And I'll help y'all go up there and argue to get you more money. Just from our standpoint on administration, why it wasn't in the recommendation is right now the split. Typically, we're splitting cost 75-25 between the two counties. Right now, we're paying 34% of the supplements. Even with the change, with our recommendation not to award the additional funding in Clark counties to move forward, we're still at 28% of that total funding. I've heard a lot of conversations over the last couple of years about, I do think the Supreme Court is inching toward, but like you're talking about, there's a lot of disparity in pay. You got some counties that don't want it touched at all because they're making
$212,000.
Yeah. In supplements.
Well,
In total. Yeah.
I mean, they're getting $60,000-$70,000 supplements, and that might be only a county that has one county. Our struggle a lot of times is we don't have one source, we have to go to two sources.
Right.
And so the dance is a little bit different.
Mhm.
What we're requesting and how, we try to get your buy-in and another county's buy-in. And then that county's buy-in is, it's very difficult. And I will say this too, it shouldn't go unnoticed that not too long ago, there was a question of merging our circuit with somebody else. And I don't know what that's going to look like in the future. So, I don't think things are going to get simpler. It's just what change is coming down and how we respond to it.
So I do know ACCG is also interested in tackling this. There were some conversations with Superior Court, is it Superior Court Council that y'all?
Superior Court
that you
Council,
have the-
Judicial Council, and the Supreme Court. I mean, they
Yeah.
actually have a wage study. I think they're trying to look through. It's just, that's a lot of moving pieces.
Yes.
So, Judge, I'll
Yes,
be honest with you, I appreciate the historical perspective on the magistrate's position. The question, that I have to look at, and I would imagine my colleague would too, is those, when we talk about when we just strictly part-time, there are part-time employees that don't get
Mhm.
any kind of benefits either. So just on a fairness note, but I do want to look at the historical issue and how this position is in our neighboring counties and statewide.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I mean, and there's not a lot of empirical data. There's not a website where you can just go pull down what the county does in Blythe County or, Bibb County or things of that nature, because most of them, again, probably 158 counties have all full-time magistrate judges, even if they have, there's counties that have $15,000 citizens. There's a full-time chief magistrate judge with benefits, things of that nature. Now their salary is much lesser. But yeah, there's the historical part. Yeah. As far as, trying to compare apples and oranges and part-time and things of that nature, I would just say that it's probably one of the, it's an essential function of government. for there to be a chief magistrate judge. We have a practicing lawyer with a law license with 26+ years of experience, where you're not required with a county of this population to have a licensed attorney to be a magistrate judge. But we feel like the kind of cases and the things that come through the courts, and you're dealing with people and their lives and their property and their liberty. Having someone who is well versed in law is very important. But that, it might be easy to get someone who's not a lawyer to be the chief magistrate on a full-time basis at whatever the county would pay. It'd probably be about 60,000, I think.
Well, it's in the state statute. So right now for our county, it would be 73,000.
Okay.
Right now, the part-time judge is 53,000.
I know it's
And
good.
again, I agree with you 100% on Conley and what he's done
Okay.
and how he represents
Yeah.
the court system is excellent. Again, it goes back similar to what Chuck is saying. It's just our position's always been part-time without the benefits. If we're gonna add that there, we're probably going to have to look at a couple other.
Sure.
We have continuous requests from some other part-time electeds that are interested in going that route as well. So
Well, I would say that from what the county has indicated, I think with the benefits would be roughly about 29,000. Don't quote me on that, for the benefits to be added on. So that would probably put you right out what you'd be paying a full-time chief magistrate. Well, excuse me, I take that back. If you had a full-time chief magistrate, lawyer or not, at the county salary of 73,000,
at the state salary.
state salary, but
It's set in
it's
code.
set
Yep.
set by the population.
Mhm.
It'd be 73 or whatever, and then you'd have your benefits on top of it. So if benefits are 29, you're looking at 83, 93, almost $100,000. So you're still saving money. Anything else I can answer?
One question on the chief magistrate.
Yes.
Speak to the caseload is, you talked about,
I couldn't tell you that now.
is it growing?
Oh, yeah. Listen, we sort of,
Yeah. give us-
we sort of have a false reality right now, which is, there are plenty of cases that he has. I can't tell you what his caseload is specifically. It has grown each and every year. I mean, what I was doing in 2005 when I first took office was much different than what I was doing in 2016. And I think Judge Conley would tell you, and Judge Barth, that it has increased in that. We also have 800. Well, we have a lot of cases that have been accused, or excuse me, we have a lot of people who have been arrested. And those cases have not yet been formally charged, which are going to come through the hopper, and you have to do that at some point in time. We also know that Epps Bridge, we're seeing, I think, a few more stores that are starting to realize that shoplifting is a very big issue, and they're starting to increase their response to that. And I think if you were actually to poll every store that is in that area, what they think their loss is on shoplifting, it would be tremendous. And that's not usually reported because there might be by policy choosing not to pursue that. But I think Judge Conley would probably be able to tell you a little bit better than that. I'm somewhat removed from his case count, but I know that he is here every day at 7:00, signing warrants, meeting with deputies before he starts his job. And then he's, of course, only 40 yards away. So he walks back and forth. I saw him at least 3 times a day during the course of the day between him doing his practice and then meeting the needs. And of course, people come to your house and weekends and holidays.
We can get some of that data too. We have some historical, and I'll get with Angie on getting those updated. She has some reports she can run that we can show. I think it's 3 or 4 years. That's progressive.
But you have, like anything, you're going to see like an accordion at times. The civil cases, you'll see sort of the steady part. Criminal cases sort of contract and expand, and where you are in that cycle depends how busy you might have a rash of people who are doing car break-ins, and that picks up, and then that stops, and then something else happens. Since he's the first person that's going to see him at the jail too.
Mr. Chairman, one of the questions I could be curious about. We'll go back to the culprit. Had it stayed full-time with that, what would we be paying today?
That's be 73,000.
So 73.
Would be the pay, gross pay plus benefit.
Plus you'd have every 4 years, if you're every 4 years with the state, if you do that, you get a COLA of 5%. So for each term, you get a successive 5% on top of whatever the state population salary says you would be. So I think I had 2 COLA increases. So I went from $30,000 to like $38,000 over the course of 11 years.
Yeah. After Eric left, the expense for the magistrate judge went way up. He was cutting a very good deal to Oconee County. Even on the part-time basis, he was
Well, I want to make sure you had someone good, 2 good people. Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else I can answer?
Can you speak to I know you had mentioned about the split between Oconee and Clark. Can you speak to any history on that? Why those percentages have changed?
I wish to say there was some memorandum of understanding between Clark and Oconee that, I mean, I've heard 80, 20, 75, 25. There's no written, we're trying to figure out what makes sense and,
well, it's
if
just
there's anything really.
from the court administrators, it's been mentioned 75-25 seems to be the number he comes up with. We did something related to juvenile court where we did an actual count and it was like 83-17. We ended up doing an 80-20 split. Y'all remember going through that on that position. How we got to this split, I think it was just because each county nobody was looking at the total,
There's no requirement. We're just trying, we're trying to keep it somewhere within a reasonable balance. You gotta say I'm out here 20% of the time, no more.
right. I mean,
Yeah, that's a very fluid, it's not a standard. I guess is the best way.
I had to gain weight, and so I really needed to watch what I eat. I needed.
no preaching. Just turn that thing on.
We're feeling the district attorney's budget, and it seemed like it was always coming down on like some kind of caseload or something like that. But I'm not sure.
We made a lot of headway with the juvenile court working with. I think we got a very fair split on that now. Both counties, I think, improved their position and the court system got what they needed on the.
Yeah, we were very lucky that we
Yeah.
were able to use ARPA funds too to fund some of that for a period of time. So, that's been a benefit. Anything else? Any judges? Y'all got anything you want to add? I will say Judge Stevens has now been with us he's now the GOAT. You didn't know that. He is the greatest of all time. He is the longest serving Superior Court judge in the state of Georgia currently serving. Yeah. Congratulations. No, well, I always joke with his interns when I go see them because I clerked for Judge Stevens in 1993. And when I see his interns, I go, look, if you clerk with Judge Stevens, if you wait 25 years, you'll be able to serve with him still. It's not going anywhere.
Came in here tonight, he thought Little Dawson was.
Well, listen, I watched there was supposed to be a hearing you talked about some changes with the judicial system. So I was watching that hearing when it was coming up. Judge Stevens walks in the room and they didn't even bring it up. So I appreciate you. Just his mere presence put an end to that. So.
Well, anyway, we do appreciate all your support, everything you do, and just respectfully ask you to consider those requests. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would stay, but I have been in court all day.
Oh, we get it. That's fine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't have an excuse.
Oh, just leaving. Our next item is to discuss the award of the contract for athletic turf fields annual maintenance.
Yes, as you all know, about 5 years ago, we had the annual athletic turf maintenance, which had provided significant benefit to our turf on our athletic fields. The primary things that are included in the RFP that we put out was weed control, aerification, and heavy laser gray top dressing, which all are so important in order to keep the turf healthy, to prevent compaction with that, and also to allow drainage properly. So we had 3 contractors submit proposals for the RFP. We had 4 different people that rated those individually. And once that was completed, our current local contractor, which is Laser Turf, had the highest ranked and highest qualified proposal. So what we are asking tonight is to renew that contract, that agreement with Laser Turf to continue our athletic turf annual maintenance. If you have any other questions beyond that, let me know.
Any questions on this side? Be all right for consent? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. Next time is discuss the Oconee County 401A plan amendment. Is that you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We currently, as part of our benefit package, have a 401, 457 match where if the employee contributes to their 457, the county will match currently 25% up to total 1.5% of the salary. This was originally a 50% match under, I think the Great Recession dropped that down to the 25%. It's a minor, but it is an important part of our retention and recruitment strategy as far as employee benefits. And we're a better financial position certainly now than we were in 2009. So the recommendation here is to move the employer contribution back to the 50% as part of the overall package. So it'd be 50%, a maximum contribution of 3% of the employee salary. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for that?
Equate that to dollars, how much would it cost?
So I believe we looked, there may be more incentive to take advantage. If we're probably looking in the 40,000-ish.
It's a little higher, right? 100. Be about $100,000 increase based on current participation.
100,000.
Yes.
And what's our level of participation with matching right now?
You got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see that there is not a large volume of employees who elect to contribute the maximum level that can be matched, but I think there's good participation in the program.
Here's one.
Good participation in the program, just not maxing out the program.
As part of, we're trying to incentivize employees to invest more of their own money than if your employer will be behind.
Thank you. Any other questions? We are for consent agenda. All right. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? All right. Next item is the joint use agreement with the Board of Education. Everyone's received a copy of the updated agreement with the Board of Education for joint use of facilities. Changes from our previous version. The term of the contract is now 5 years. Board of Commissioners has agreed not to charge no more than 2% for the taxation fee on collection of taxes. The Board of Education will not charge for use of school facilities, and the BOC will continue not charging for the use of county facilities. So, any questions on that? That all right for consent?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. So our next item is discuss the merit and equity adjustments. Merit adjustments are for employees receiving excels on their employee reviews. Or the request is for $50,000 reward the extra effort for FY23. And these funds will be divided among the 4 constitutional offices and the governing authority based on employee count. So they get a percentage. And then the allocation funding by office are then divided evenly among the employees receiving the Excel ranking in that office. We did the same thing last year. I think it was 45,000. The year before that, 40,000. Also, we're asking for a one-time equity adjustment for active employees with a hire date prior to January 1 of 2023. And the request for this year's amount is 1,000 per full-time employee and 500 per permanent part-time. If this is approved, payment of the merit and equity adjustments will occur on June the 9th. And we're very blessed to be able to continue these adjustments for the last few years. The economic conditions and the performance of the government all kind of come into whether we're able to do these type of things or not. I think this is third year straight, third year straight, we've been able to reward a little extra equity and adjustments to payroll. So any questions on those items? I believe the equity adjustment we're talking about for the full and part-time is 300,000 plus some taxes on that. This be all right for consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? We do need a executive session to discuss land acquisition and personnel matters.
Make a motion, we go into executive session, discuss land acquisition and personnel matters.
Second.
We have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Make a motion, we go back into regular session.
We have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Mr. Saxon.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.